Hello everybody, we're back again. So this is the revival of what I've been working on, and I am currently improving so many parts of this game. So first we'll start off with, Happy Memorial Day and welcome. We've started to get back into this. Saturday we did a stream. We're going to do some more this week. It's going to be fun. I'm going to basically be coding. I might do a little bit of OBS, plugin, scripting stuff, so I can do some silly things. I definitely want to be able to make my webcam get bigger and smaller, but I have it like expand and decrease out to the side, so it's a little more fun. I'm going to do a little bit of game design. I'll probably put that in the latter end of the stream. I think the way I'm going to do it today is I'm going to try to finish a task for GameDev first. And then I might do a little miscellaneous fun things, side stuff, and then we'll go from there. So today's main task is actually to get the thing that we worked on last time, which was getting items to spawn on the screen and then having you able to pick them up. So this will be your cache, these will be your power-ups, all of those fun things. So we're starting that process. And what I want to make today is a spawner that spawns a ton of them at once. So instead of me clicking it once, I click it and then it does like a whole region and just spawns them in random spots on the screen, but clustered. So you can spawn like 30 of them at once with one click and then it shows up. The other thing I want to do is make that be something that is configured per the levels. So then a level designer can pick an area of the screen, right? So we can say over here, spawn a bunch over here, and it just like will do that at a given point in the level's timeline. So the way the game works is bad guys will come in from a side of the screen or the top of the screen, or and they will have that start based off of time in the room. One of the things I'm going to do is have it to where, say you're performing really well in this room, like I'm just killing everything fast, it's going to have a threshold. So not only does it have a time for when the bad guys come out of the top spawner, but it also has a threshold of how many enemies are still on the screen. So for example, if I'm really good at the game and I'm just blasting through here and I get most of the screen wiped, you're not going to be waiting for the next spawn. It's going to just skip that gap of time. It's going to know about the gap. It's going to just skip that gap. So that allows people to run through the game quicker if they're good, and it gives people time if they're not so good. Make it run a little slower. So I'm going to put that on my list actually. I need to do that. Allow for speed. So we get all that done. I'll probably get at least the clustering spawn and maybe the ability for me to configure a big spawning of cache in the room automatically. Something else I want to do, so let me put that down on the list. So I want the cache to have a slight hover. I want items to have a small magnet effect. Just the cache pickups. So power-ups, no magnetic pool. Okay. I don't know if I'm pressing the wrong key or something, but there is a command that I'm doing that's resizing this window all the time. It's quite annoying. We'll figure that out off stream. Okay. Well, I'm going to get started. So let's get the game window out of the way. We've already tested out the spawning of items into rooms. So I see the next step being, instead of spawning at a particular spot. I'm going to reuse this. Yeah, I'll reuse this. No, I'm going to create a new method that spawn cluster at mouse click. And then I guess I should probably do a pointer. But how am I going to know that I'm not getting too many things? Let me just put an int here. Item type count. That way I can create an array and send the array in and just use that. Okay. So then at a position where the mouse is, I want to create a cluster. And this default cluster, we're just going to have predefined range. Let's do 50. And then height, we'll do 50 as well. And then I want to have randoms. I want to have like random placement within that area. So I also should say in here, type ID, type count, total amount. And you know what I don't have in here is the randomness. So I'll have to create some sort of pattern for that. I could probably use Lua to say like what the weighted averages are and then pull from that so I don't have to keep reconfiguring it. So in here I could just do something like right now I have like 1 through 7, so I'll do it. Cache 1 is like 7. Well, actually, it was 6. Cache 5 was 3 because I was doing 1 run through 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And cache 10 would be 1. And so then if you put all 3 of these together, you have a total of 10. And then you can kind of use those ranges to determine if you hit your total count. There's going to be a lot of configuring. I bet you I'm going to have to make these configured per grouping. Because I imagine when you're going to the game, you're going to have the first floor, and you might have for the first 5 rooms, the probability of spawning is going to be different than the latter end. I want to make sure I have the ability to go through that. But what's important right now is to test out the clustering feature, get it to show up on screen so it looks nice, and then we'll continue that. Okay, so this is the range stuff. So I'm going to snag all that, put that in here, and then I want to change. We're done with this stuff. I'm going to put this in an if false block, so I don't have to be too concerned about it. This code is for me, not for anyone else, so they can deal with my little hacks here, dirty coding. Okay, that's gone. That's not going to happen now. We're going to do spawn cluster at mouse click. Should just do at position and then pass in the position vector. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pass in the position vector instead. Okay, I've got a few things I'm going to modify. Spawning at mouse click, just, I don't know, it seems kind of stupid now that I've been doing it for a bit. So we're going to take that. There we go. We have a mouse position vector. We'll pass that in. I would like to do room, then position. So we're going to vector to position. My width is going to be from that spot. I guess I should go out from the center because it makes more sense. You want to expand from the center. So I'm going to go with that approach instead of just doing the weird offset thing I've been doing before. So for that to work, we would have to take the position and minus half of the width and the height. This is not running a million times. It's also like a joke. A joke of a thing. So what we'll do is we'll do a rectangle that is spawn area. I guess we don't need a rectangle at spawn area. We just need to calculate the center and then add to the center 25, 1 to 20, or 0 to 25, and minus 0 to 25 as the range. So I do need this vector center equals position.x minus 25, position.y minus 25. So I got my mouse center. I feel like I'm just goofing here. When I click, it's going to give that center. Ah, never mind. Our randoms is what matters. So let's get our randoms. Random x equals, I think it's called good morning. Hello, it's Brittany. Nice. Raging Wolf Helm. This badge was earned for watching Elden Ring during the initial Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion launch. Nice. Happy Memorial Day. Get random value, minus 25 to 25. And then we'll do the same for the y value. Get the random value. Then we're going to loop around about the amount of things I have. So instead of random value there, it's going to be 4 int I equals 0, I less than the length, which I have total amount. So we actually need to do that. Total amount, I plus plus. And then in here, we would have our randoms. So actually, I'm going to leave them out here. I'm going to delete 2, put a 0 here. And then delete 2 here, put a 0. So, just to give you a recap, what we're working on right now is getting the cache to spawn in a cluster. You probably may have remembered this from like Unity, when I was working on Unity. I already had all that done and it was great, but we're in C++ land, so I have to do a little bit more work. But it's so much faster, so much nicer. I can't complain. So it's going to get me a random. We're going to spawn within half the width in each direction. Ah, look, width is 50. So let's do, these can be floats. Treat them as floats, but we don't want those values to be floats. So the halfway point, I don't need to be a float. Also, I'm like going to be mostly in control of this, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we have our width range, our height range. Change this to height. All right. We don't need that. We don't need that. We're passing in the position, so we don't need the mouse. We have what we want to spawn, and if we modify this to include a position vector, we can get rid of that and then change this to position, and voila, we are zooming along. So then here we could just say spawn position, spawn position, spawn position. Take this blob of stuff, paste it here. Okay, so we got that. We now have most of what I want outlined. It might even work at this point. It would work at this point, but it wouldn't be configurable. That's okay. I want to see how it looks first, and then we can make it better. So I need to fix up this method signature here. I also need to remove these in a completely different spot there. Totally wrong spot. All right, so we're going to make a type IDs array. We'll just put it at the, I guess, what is this, the heap, the stack? I don't care. I'm just going to put it up here. It's going to be int array items, or cache items. And then I will do this. And I wonder if this works for C++. I'll probably pay for it later. But we're just testing. So cache items, great. Okay, so then this is not happening. Now we're doing it there. So go back up here, spawn here. So we need to pass in the room. We need to pass in the position. So we're going to do mouse position. The item types, we'll do cache items. And then there are 3 of those. So put a 3. And then I want to spawn 50 of the cache. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and the mistake is that I put it here. These don't work anymore. Let's delete those. Okay. If all has been done properly, when I press my left mouse click, it's going to spawn all of them at once, which is not what I want. I would want them to be a little more thing. Okay, I obviously don't know what I'm doing with this. I think I need to put the array on the cache items section there. And then I don't know how to... Static variable storage duration cannot be captured in a lambda. Okay, let me just... C++, initialize an array. You never want to read this stuff on the internet about how to do this. But, okay. Yeah. All right, let's see if that works. We've got some code here that is missing its position vector. Spawn at mouse click is position and okay, the order and the order down here wrong. Spawn position is before the thing itself. Got any plans today for Memorial Day? Mine's this. Well, I mean, in the afternoon I'll probably chill. Best viewers on band. Ay, You can't see it because I don't stream the chat all the time. But I do have a scene where I can go to and show you the chat. And we got one of those guys that spams. So we're going to get rid of this guy and go back to our coding land. Ban. So nice to ban these people. Ban. If you're not getting random spam bots, you know. Oh, wow, you're working on a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I got one right here. This is, I think, a number 4. What do I got? It's a 4 Model B. I usually use the Cana kits. They do some of the work for you. Okay, so it is spawning something. It's problem is that we don't know where, and since we don't know where, we can't see it. And I have a feeling that the reason why it's spawning nowhere is because I'm having it spawn at 0, 0. And I didn't add the values to the position. So we're going to go 0, 0. We're going to do spawn position equals. Oh, it's position. Yes, that's why. Position x plus random x. Random x plus position y plus random y. And there we go. Let's give it a try. Bam, look at all that money. Cha-ching, ching, 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 ching. This is dope. Oh man, look at that. That's gonna be sweet. I can just hear the sound effects, you know. So doing a little touchscreen home hub so my fiance can see when the litter box is full. I not saying this is the case, but it makes me imagine a situation where the box gets full, it's not getting done. It's like, how do I fix this so I don't have to keep asking? That's what I imagine in my head, but it could completely not be that way. Litter box, it's like you want it to not be visible, but then it's easy to forget. Is the box itself like capable of detecting that, or are you going to need to add your own sensors and things? Ching 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 ching. Imagine when people are playing a game like this, you do want to pick up all the cash, right? And you do want it to be easy. And it isn't about, like, with these power-ups, which are just increasing your money power-ups, you're not trying to get them in a manner where you're not trying to get these cash things in a manner where they're like surgical. Why did you get stuck there, monkey? I sometimes they have some weird behavior. I gotta figure that out. You're not trying to pick up cash as a like a tactical or strategic or surgical sort of approach. You're not trying to be precise. Whereas if there's a shotgun power up, like, you know, this split shooting thing, you're not going to want to pick that up if you have like the rocket and you don't want to replace your rocket with, you know, an inferior weapon or something, or a weapon that's not good for the situation. Okay, so even if I made one of these cache spawns, I'm not going to want it to just like appear all at once. I'm going to want it to come in gradually, like have like a timer and have it be part of a loop. So I think I need to create I'm going to have to create a struct to hold the desired outcome, and then I'm going to have that be added to the room itself and have it be processed in the room's update loop to then do the spawning. It's totally that way. The litter box has built-in sensors. People have reverse engineered the API, so it's not too bad. Yeah. That's good. That is good. Okay, so my game runs at, I set it to run at 60 FPS. How many of these things can I put on here before the game starts saying, hey, you are torturing me? Okay, we're starting to torture my CPU by doing this. But that's like way too much cache. And it's still at 60 FPS. It makes no sense. Start picking some of them up, it gets better. There's no way you can render that much cache. I mean, I am rendering that much cache. But there's no way that... Okay, let's put us all up here. There's no way that's how much is going to be on the screen at once to start. So I'm not worried about this happening because it's unrealistic. Also, how many have I spawned? Let's start over. I'm just going to spawn in one spot. Perfect amount of money, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a nice amount. Okay, so I think the issue is not that it's covering. I don't know, it might be. So I've got over 4,350 like entities on the screen that are doing things. Like this has animation going on. That many. I wonder if I like offload some of the Okay, so my theory is that if I refresh and I just spam here down to 5,000 in one spot, it's actually not going to be as expensive as if I put it everywhere, like all over the place. Okay, so we're able to get to, so it is tanking stuff. Let me see what my just taking a look on the side here, looking at. So according to my performance tab here, I am using 95% of my NVIDIA's performance to do this. And that's why it's so laggy. So it's not even CPU. There is, I mean, I'm using like a bunch of my CPU, but for this game, spawning over 4,000 cache objects, I'm only at 11% of CPU usage. So let's pick up all this real quick. Go through here, pick all that up, and I'm back at full 60 FPS. And then my GPU has dived down from the 90% down to much more reasonable amount of 30% to 40%. Now what I don't know is if it's the game. So I'm going to close that. So I close the game. I just want to see GPU usage and GPU engine. That's good. So let's put the GPU at the top. Okay, so 22% of my video card is being used by the GPU, 39% by the desktop window manager, 10%. So there's stuff that's going on here that's not related to the game that's using up the GPU. So that's good to know. I'm going to run it again. So I'm at 2%, 6%, 6.9. So we're doing pretty good. Let's put this down here. It shouldn't be growing in use, especially when I'm shooting stuff. It's going to do a few things, and then it should decrease back down to very little. Maybe it's just how much it uses to begin with. So anyways, it's like at 8%. Now I'm going to spam the cache spawns, and yeah. Okay, so what's slowing down my FPS is not CPU cycles, it's GPU cycles. Which means that the issue is in... I mean, like, in this, I am rendering so many things that don't need to be... Why is it spamming all done? All done, all done, all done, all done. All done. All done. All room objectives complete. That means that the mission's over. Because I killed all the bad guys. Okay. It's good to know this type of thing is happening. I'm wondering... I don't need to render what can't be seen, but I also don't... I have to think about how I can eliminate things from being rendered if they're on top of each other. So once they're all gone, it goes back to 8% utilization. And then when I just spam a bunch of these in here like that, it jumps up. Look, we're at 34%. If I keep making them, then we're going really high. I mean, I have a really good graphics card, so it's not... I don't want to make a game that won't run on handheld consoles, right? I don't want a game that's looks like this. And this isn't bad looking, but looks like this, and it's, you know, not that sophisticated, and it's using up your entire graphics card. However, like, if you think about it, I just spawned 50 of those, and I'm not giving you a lot of information about what's going on. And that's telling, right? If you can spawn 50 of something. Okay, let's get rid of the console window. I'm actually not going to stream the terminal because it gets held back a few times, and I forget to delete it often enough. So I'm going to change this to 25 all at once. And I'm not going to be spawning like 10 of these. I might do 4 of them in a row, right? So then if we do 4 in a row, that gets me to, you know, 11%. Maybe I would do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So it'd be like ching, 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 ching. And that's not that bad. But I still feel like 25, you're not seeing like half of them when you do 25. So let's do half of that. So half of 25, let's do 13. That seems kind of small. But if we did a bigger area and we did twice as much, it would be... You know what? Let's double the area. It looks good. We'll double the area and we'll double the amount. Or we'll quad the amount. Okay, spawn cluster. We'll go back to... We'll do 50 of them. Okay, keep an eye on our... That's not 50. Okay, so... Height, width... Oh. Not using my range variable. Okay, try that again. Bam. See, that's great. That's a huge amount of money. It's actually too big because you don't... I personally don't want the cache spawns to be that big. But let's reset. Take a look at performance again. I don't want to have the performance thing on stream because it shows everything that I'm doing. Okay. So when I do that, let me just do 1, 2... No, let's just do 1. Let's do... I'm gonna sometimes have 2 big blobs like this on the screen. It can't be that graphically intensive to do what I'm doing right now. There's got to be something I'm doing that's really messed up. How many objects is that? It's like, okay. Come on, that can't be doing it. Oh, I'm still at 60 FPS, but that's for my machine. I'm using half of my GPU right now. That's no good. Okay. Okay, so some theorizing here. So we're going to go to the cache rendering method, cache render, and it is using a shader called cache. The shader, or sorry, we're using the cache shader, but the shader doesn't do anything except get rid of pixels it doesn't need, so it discards. Then we have a calculation being done to figure out what to show. So that shouldn't be a big deal either. Am I rendering more than I should? Mobile entity render. So then mobile entity render. Maybe I'm rendering it more than once. So we have the dead queue. Am I not removing things? It doesn't matter if I'm not removing because it's slow before I do that. And the queue's not slow, it's the rendering that's slow. I imagine if I did begin shader mode at the start, I wouldn't have to keep opening and closing the shader, but the problem is I have the hitboxes. I wonder if I try that out, get the shader out of there real quick, see if that's opening and closing the shader that many times, like loading it in and out, could be a slowdown. Let's just try that out. No, that's not the reason. Oh no, it is the reason. I've done this a million times so far. Like I've got like 10,000 things in here. Now that it's not the shader, I don't think it's the shader that's a problem. I think it's the fact that I'm beginning the shader mode and ending the shader mode over and over in a loop when they're all using the same shader to render, and I plan on just having one shader for the entire game. So that's interesting. So why not put the shader over here? I think I do have the shader here, so we'll just use that one. And then we go back to where I've mobile entity render. So we have the dead queue and the other queue. I could put the begin shader mode here and end shader mode here. Right, so I yank. And it's going to be the same shader for both sections. So I can actually put this here. And then do, after this one, do end shader mode. And then if I find all the other places I'm doing that. Okay, so it worked and then it didn't work. What is that? And maybe it's because it was loading it the first time and it doesn't know what it's doing. Look at that. Like half of the stuff's like shaded incorrectly. So let's take a look here. We've got end shader mode, begin shader mode. I think I have bad shader state entering into this on some of the things. So some of them may not be cleaning up. That doesn't make sense. So now I'm adding a lot of these, and we're at a ridiculous amount. My FPS is still crazy. Okay. I've got 4,749 things being rendered here. They're all shading or sharing the same shader. I've got some lag here on some of it, like not using the shader. But I went up to, before when I was at 5,000, I was at like 90% GPU usage. And now I'm only at, like, I'm hovering around 11, 12%. I'm adding more and more and more and more and more and more of these. I'm at 10,000 items in the room right now. And I'm still going. I'm going to go to 20,000. If this is what it was, wow, that's wonderful. I really do want to figure out what this anomaly on the shader is. All right, so now I'm at 10%, 11%, 9%, 10%. My CPU usage is actually not rising as I do this, which is even more funny, especially with the way I'm doing things. I would imagine it would grow, but it's not. So, there you have it. My FPS has lowered. So, let's restart this test. We're going to go until I get under 60 FPS. And see how many we're at. Okay, now I'm just clicking in one spot. You know what? Let's not waste time. We're going to change the amount I spawn from, I think I did 50 or 100. We're going to change this to 500. So it's going to be quicker to get to that breakpoint. Okay, we're at, giving it a moment to warm up. So we're at 7% utilization, 8%, and it takes a bit to spawn that many. Okay, let's look at our FPS. We're at 60. Okay. So I did some. I think when I got past like 10,000, it lowered FPS. Let's try again. We're gonna go until we're at 10,000. We're at 10,000. Still good. Still good. Still good. Still good. Not good. So 1,000 or 12,500 is that break point. 12,500 items. There's no way we're gonna have that much on the screen, because first off, it looks it's ridiculous, right? It's not going to be a thing. Okay, it's going to be a thing for fun probably in one of the rooms, but it's so much stuff on the screen. Still at 61 FPS. Start killing monkeys while I'm at it. Okay, so there is a bug in my shader, and I think it's in regards to the hit flash. Yes, it is there. So I'm not cleaning my shader state after I believe it's the monkey render. So what I could do is go into the methods that are using those shaders and clean that up. Now that I know that loading and unloading the shader actually has an effect on the graphics card, I will just load that one shader and reuse it in the groups that use it instead of reloading it every 2 seconds. So we're going to assume that the monkey render is opening up the shader. It is. So we're going to get rid of that. And then we have end shader down here. Okay, we've done that. So if I'm right, the monkeys will still shade properly. Okay, some of them do, some of them don't. Okay. And I'm pretty sure it's just shader state stuff. Yeah. So in this render method here, I benefit from looking at all of my inputs and making sure that they all go back to their defaults. And what is 0 time here? That's a float. Okay. So we want to look at every single set shader value that I have in the game. And so there is some with the player. So player's setting up shader as well. So in the render draw shadows, I'm entering a shader mode and I'm doing a blend mode. I think if I get rid of that and that, okay, so we've got one more spot to go. It's in the player render. We have the shader mode beginning and ending there. All right, and then we do one more begin shader. Bullets have shader mode on them, so we get rid of that as well. Text writer has it. Everything's going to start looking very pink. Okay. Okay, my bullets are messed up. That's okay. we have a bullet list, and I'll be wherever I'm rendering bullets. So it's probably dot render because I used it's gonna be dash render for the bullets right here. So we want shader mode to end here, down here, and in the particles as well. Oh. We're gonna want that as we want to go all the way down here to here, yeah. End shader mode should be down there, and then begin shader mode should be render active queue should be here. So this is begin rendering, and then we have up here scoreboard end shader mode and begin it. Okay, so I guess we will take that out as well. Okay, I have eliminated a lot of it. There we go, that's what I wanted. I want it to look bad. Okay, so we're beginning our shader mode using this shader. We're rendering the top of the room, the bottom of the room. So in rendering this, okay, so we're good. Begin render. I should only have begin render or begin shader happening in the map editor and the top level. We need to get all of these begin shader, end shader stuff gone. Shader manager. Okay, shader begin shader. Good. Text writer. Bye. UI window, UI button. Oh, I gotta get rid of the end shaders too. Big money. Big prizes. Okay. Nice. It worked, but how did I go from having a black canvas to a white canvas for outside the room? I think I know how, so I could fix that. I also broke my on-hit flash, which I'll have to fix. And let's see. All right, we're at 15,000 items, and we're losing FPS at that point. So, yep, it is pretty much at 15,000 items. I noticed my FPS drop. Realistically, the most I would probably put on the screen for regular gameplay is probably, let's say 5,000 is way too many. And this is what 5,000 looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 5,000. That's too many. We'll do 2,000. I mean, this is already too many. Even 5 of these is too many. Even 4 of these is too many. I don't think, I mean, this doesn't make any sense to me. This just looks like monstrosity. So I do have a lot of potential with what I can do on the screen. Way more than I need. Okay. So current step would be to fix the shaders. I'm wondering if I just made a big mistake. We'll see. It's all right. If I mess this up, I'll just have to redo it. It's not hard. So we want hit flash true. We do the rendering. I imagine if I did this, then when they get hit, they're all going to turn white. Oops. Nothing. Nope, there was a flash there. The whole arena flashed. See? I probably don't know enough about shaders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put an end shader mode here and then begin it for the stuff that's like alive, which would be the monkeys and the player. And then end it here. Okay, so what I know about the shaders is that they share the variables. But what I don't know is when I'm rendering and then I change the variables, does it? Yeah, I set myself up here because there's too much to check. Yep, and background's fading. The guys on the ground have faded. Like I kill one of them, and then yeah, there's spilling. There's definitely some spillover still of the variables. We gotta go to Raylib land. Yesterday I was streaming this browser window, but it's not working. So Raylib. Let's see. There we go. So he's got a couple. Hello. These are all shaded. And in his example, he might have one shader, right? He's setting his shader value here. Then he's creating his lights. He's setting the shader. He begins his drawing. He begins and ends it on the planes. He's drawing 2 planes. And he opens it up and he unloads the shader. So he actually does one section and then another one. And then he begins the shader here and he does a few things. So we need to see him use variables. That's probably what's going to happen here because this is like a generative thing, I think. Set shader values. Press R. We're going to change the values. Okay, so it's not the example I'm looking for. I need to find one though. Shader values. Oh. What shader are we setting values on? Oh, we're setting it on the monkey shader. Right, so this is the shader, but the shader that we should be using is that global shader. Right, you see this? So this is a pointer to a shader. But which? Right, and then I have areas where we're changing the shader values, and maybe it's happening in here. Set shader value. No, so we're going to do set shader value. In monkey, we're doing it. In player, we're doing it. So we're only doing it in 2 places. So what is P data? P data is from player entity data. Where are we setting that shader? Is it the same shader or is it a different shader? Are they sharing that shader? It's interesting. We're getting base shader, base shader FS, base shader FS. They're all using the same shader. But are we getting pointers or are we... Yeah, we're not getting pointers. So they're not pointers to the shader. They're just a shader. And we're sending copies. So we're not on all this. We're not all on different shaders. And some of the shaders are different. Now I could change the way that rendering works where we pass in a pointer to the shader. And that would be a somewhat of a, it's not a big refactor. Monkey, so it's going to be mobile entity render. And then we have GG core. So in here I would pass shader pointer shader. Right? And then in all the other renders, like monkey render, we would do shader star shader, and then monkey underscore render. Okay, great. And then we go to mobile entity and we do shader star shader. Great. When we pass that into our monkey render, and I guess we could pass it into the cache renderer, and then we could pass it in here. Great, so the pointers are making it everywhere. Let's do cache render, we want to do shader as well. Shader star shader. Now we're sharing the same shader, which might be the right thing, it might not be, right? So in here we do shader star shader. All right, great, we're happy. Go to player, we go to render, shader star shader, and then anywhere that I'm using a shader in here, which I don't think we are. For render shadows we are, so I should do shader star shader. Alright. And then we have our shader. I think I need to do star here, so that would be change to S star. Oh, it's shadow texture. There we go. And then we go to monkey. And we go here and we do replace with star. Nope. We go star. Nope. We do change star. And that gets the shader. Okay, and then we need to go back to GG Core and do player render, draw render shadow, and we do shader star shader. Then we go into player draw render shadow. We're gonna add shader here. Okay, so I've done a little bit of breaking things. Let's shrink that screen. Okay, shader is an undeclared variable. So monkey render has it. So we go into here. I forgot to put shader in here, shader star shader. Okay, we'll run that. And our new issue is draw render shadows doesn't have that. So we go, oh, you know what? We want to pass a pointer here. So we're going to go deep. There we go. And then we're going to do render. And here we're going to pass shader and shader. Run that again. All right, we made it. So the question is, are the shaders working? Doesn't look like they're working. Oh, this is good news. So if you notice, not all of the things are flashing, and when I have all this cache over here, Some of them are flashing, but all of them should flash. So that tells me something. So if we go to items, we go to cache render, I'm still doing begin shader mode. So we delete that, and we delete that. How did I keep begin shader mode? Begin shader mode. How did it not find that the first time? Did I just not have it open? I'm gonna have to search my whole project, Visual Studio. Begin shader mode. You can't find begin shader mode. Spell it properly. It's in the map editor. Yeah, so that looks right. And all my cache is now messed up looking. When I shoot a bunch of guys, I'm not getting any hit flashes. Oh, I am. It's not happening completely, but it's happening randomly. Now, what I'm noticing is that the hit flash is happening, but not to everything. So let's see in here, end shader mode. Do I have that in two places? I have it at the end and I have it here. So let's get rid of it there. Okay, and then we have begin shader mode. We have that one spot. Okay. All right, so now I'm shooting and everything's flashing. That means it's getting applied to everything when there's one flash. So I have to ask myself, is it my shader code that's broken? Let's see, so we are getting rid of all the pink. And if I do a global search on set shader value, it's so I'm thinking uniform means it's the same across all of them. Input is unique to this one. Why am I sending uniforms? So every shader has it, but I don't think I have to open and close a shader for each thing I'm doing. I don't think that's true. So we're setting it, and we're setting it every iteration. It's uniform. Oh, hydrate. All right. There we go. Hydrated big time. Toggle light keys. They're not working. Why RGB? None of the lights are working. Whew, that was a lot of water. From my understanding, a uniform is used, it's the same value across all of the use of the shader, but I was thinking it would be use of that individual instance of rendering. But it doesn't explain why I think what I... You know what? Let's look at this. Reset amount is 1. Oh. The player renders shadows. I wonder if... I'm changing something here. And it's going. And then it's changing it back. One of the easier tests would just be to destroy a few monkeys. Right? Get them all dead. And see if the blending's happening. And to know if the blending's happening is right here, which I can't zoom in on, but if I can see anything, and I can't, so it's not happening. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to run all the rendering together, and I think I broke my shaders and everything with that. But what doesn't make sense is if I did it this way. So in the before, let me see if I can show Visual Studio. Have it be a toggle. Okay, so Visual Studio is Smash Hyperdrive. Dev environment. There we go. So we're just going to show this for a moment. So I have my diff here. And let's shrink that real quick. In my diff, I was setting the data and then ending the shader mode. But I was also beginning it. And then I was setting the values of the shader. Oh, I need to send this to the main screen. There we go. So showing my values there, and it just doesn't look like it was taking it too well. So begin shader, end shader. I might have to undo all this work. I got all sidetracked to do some performance stuff. And maybe I'm paying for that optimism. Oops. Let's see. Okay. I just don't want to believe it's that way, so I'm still going to do some more research. So yeah, get rid of the Visual Studio. Bam. And we have a browser window, so let's get that browser window back in there. Okay, so we want to, there's like some shader. Okay, so GLSL, we have uniform, and then we have in. I'm wondering if I can have my variables come in as inputs instead of uniforms, and then so the shader uses this value for all vertices and fragments. It doesn't change per vertice. Okay. And then here it says passes either from the program or case fragment, possibly from the vertice shader. So I've been passing in uniforms to the shader. So let's stop showing that for a moment. I've been passing in uniforms to my shader, and I just switched everything to use. I just switched the code to where I wasn't going to stop using and reusing the shader. So I wonder if I changed my just hit flash to an input and then set, I guess this is being a monkey, set shader value. Instead of doing a uniform int, I would do an input int. What I don't know is how in Raylib they do this. So adds. So we want to show Visual Studio, so I'll show Visual Studio. And I want to jump into this constant here. And it says shader, uniform data type, attribute. So how does he do inputs? I'm gonna have to look through I'm gonna need to look through this and figure out how to do an input for the int. So we have shader, maybe I just do a search for shader underscore. So we'll do shader uniform. All right, we're back. So what I'm thinking is shader has like a few different variables, and I've been using the uniform type and setting the uniform type, and that sets it everywhere. And so there are instances where it'll be on and off at different positions, but it's not supposed to be an everywhere. It's supposed to be a per that instance. So I don't know if it's attribute though. I don't know how they're doing it in Raylib. So I could do shader underscore star underscore int. And then we'll do regex and see if that pops anything. So we have uniform int and all that. All right, so we've got that. That's not what I want. Let me see if there's any ints at all. So it's just the uniform int. But what Doesn't make any sense. So how do I do a non-uniform int? How do I do an individual thing? Like, am I messing up my thinking on this? So in here, pass from either program in case of fragmentation, possibly from the vertices shader, output variable, in and out both. No, they aren't the same as blah, blah, blah. Okay, I just want more info, so let's keep looking. Keywords, in and out keywords. You know what? Raylib, in versus uniform. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Okay. I don't want to do this, right? I'm hoping that first case is expected. You set up the location, da 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 da. Second case, you set up your draw, da da. If you're not drawing a big amount of tiles, that's okay. But in general, that mechanism is quite inefficient. So number 2 is inefficient. Why do you need we don't need a different uniform. Okay, it's the best way to tiles. I want to see what he's talking about because I'm running index color. In that case, possible you need specific da da da. So that is the expected behavior. Okay, he's like answering it, but he's also like not answering what I'm looking for. So he has fragment colors coming in, position and normal, and then he has his ambient color. So he isn't, this guy's not receiving anything as an input. Get shader location. He's setting it here, so it might be what I'm I might have my answer here is that I needed to do it the second way, but I don't want to leave it there. Attribute is the same as in for a vertex shader. Varying is the same as out for the vertex shader. Same as in for the fragment shader. These are erroneously flipped bar in the reference thing. Okay. So we could have this is an attribute. I could see that we would want to send different positions for each. So I could see that working. Yeah, here, this is kind of it. So what if I just, yeah. Ooh, unhelpful tutorials. Oh, that sounds useful. Unhelpful. So let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to say attribute. Oh, wait. It should be written in 4.2 as in. You know what? I'm just going to do in. So my fragment shader now has in on that. I'm just going to run it. Let it break. Okay, so when I run my shader, it should say that shader failed to load. We've got it loaded successfully. I don't have any... Here it is. So it says, OpenGL does not allow varying of type bool. OpenGL does not allow initializing of varying variables. So, if I jump to my shader, and I have a Boolean here. What if I... No. I mean, it's got to be uniform. Okay, so I need to come up with a more simple way of doing this. I am getting stuck. Don't understand how to use in and out. You know what? It'd be worth it to take a look at the Raylib GitHub. So I'll go to Raylib. You know, I'm probably gonna have to log in because they don't let you search. If you, they don't let you search on here if you're not. Oh, they do. Okay. So it's attributes. So I want to look at code. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, fine. I'm just gonna search on my browser real quick. Huh. I've not signed in yet. It's one of those annoying things where you don't have your phone with you. Well, I will be right back. Be right back. Had to go get my phone. Ah, look at me. I had it in my pocket. I looked for it on my desk before looking into my own pocket. Okay. Let me put in this code. Okay. 562. All right. So they do have attribute. He does have a shader that is using it. It's a vertex, not a fragment shader. And he does have a distortion one where he has some inputs, but they're default inputs. So let's keep looking. I want to find one where he's not he's not just using the defaults. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. I'm just hoping I figure this out. But maybe the attributes are predefined. It's not something you define. Excuse me. I'm starting to believe that ins are defined outside of what we can define. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and everywhere we're using an attribute in a shader, it's always like frag, like for fragment text coordinate, fragment color, fragment position. It's not something that is like something user defined. It's something that's expected to be a consistent value. So I do think I'm going to have to revert what I did, and that does cap the performance, but it's not like a big deal because the actual amount of things you're going to spawn is not, it doesn't make sense to go that way. All right, good. So let's get Visual Studio back up here and start making some changes to my project here. Okay, so in Bullet, I got rid of all the shader stuff. That's all that I've changed in here. So that's easy to revert. In Item, open up Items. I did the same thing, so that's easy to revert. In Mobile Entity, I did the same thing, so that's easy to revert. In Monkey, I did the same thing. That's easy to revert. I didn't do a lot of things. The issue will be in the main game class or main game source code. Scoreboard. This is why I use version control, guys. Come on. Okay, we are getting through this. How about we go eat barbecue in 10 minutes? Memorial Day. Soon. I am close to the 2-hour mark of what I wanted to do today. And I do get hungry. But just a little bit more time. I want to get this thing back to where it was before. And then breathe for 2 seconds and then go from there. TextWriter C++ is in the build folder. That's funny. I'll fix that later. Memorial Day. Okay, we want to keep this stuff. It's GG cores where all the things that I need to revert are. So we're going to revert that one. And we're going to revert that one. My concern is that there might be a method in here that I don't want to revert. So I don't want to do a full revert. Okay, that was easy. Okay, and then here is where all the interesting, delicate reverts will happen. Yep, so here's one of them. And here's the other one. And then I think I have some begin and end shader stuff in here. Like this. This needs to go away. And then we're good. Let's run it. All right, guys, we're going to be wrapping up soon. I have a Discord, which I'm spamming in chat. You can join it. You don't have to chat or anything in there if you don't want to, but it does let you know when I'm going to go live. And yeah, there we go. Look at that. We got all of our stuff back the way it was before. And so to let you know when I'm going live, you can say hello to me and let's get all this other stuff shrunk so you can see the game. So it'll let you say hello to me, ask me questions off stream, give me ideas if you want, just hang out, chat with some of the other chatters that are on here in a less live, more casual format. My plan is to stream a couple times during the week. I'm thinking about 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's when I will have time. And then I'm going to try to be a little consistent on Saturday to try to do a 9 a.m. to about noon stream. Or I might just do a 2-hour. So I've got some of that going on. But yeah, thanks for coming this time. I really looking forward to getting more of this game out there. I'm going to do a quick test. I'm going to spawn a couple thousand of these. Hey, thank you. You have a happy Memorial Day as well. I'm going to spawn... I've already spawned a ton of these, look. And so when I have none of them, we're at like 3% GPU. And then I spawn one big blob, we're at 20%, 30, 40. But this is unrealistic. No one's going to spawn 500. It doesn't make sense to spawn a blob of 500 cash like this. And it doesn't make sense to render it like I'm rendering it. So there's a lot of room for improvement. I could figure out, using a few CPU cycles, how to optimize the rendering on some of these things so we don't just render everything meaninglessly. Because if you got like 10 pieces of cache on top of each other, you don't need to render them. And I could find a way to optimize this. So having each shader have a different process didn't work. Or sharing the shader didn't work. Because it's using uniforms, and I just haven't figured out how to send it a parameter that's different. So we'll see. All right, thanks everybody. Y'all have a good day, and I'll catch you soon, sometime this week. Enjoy, and I guess I'm going to look on Twitch and see if there's anyone I'd like to raid, but I'm only going to do it if it's somebody that... Yeah, I don't want to raid anyone this time, so I'm going to shut down. Y'all have a good one, and I'll catch you again soon. All right, bye-bye.